Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. This is the top 5 mods video for your car on a budget. This is the one that's not going to break the bank. This is the one that's not going to make your missus kick your ass. This is the one you can do probably the entire list for maybe under $1,000 maybe. I don't know. I just threw that number out there. But let's jump in, revisit the video from the other week, but do it on a budget. All right, so our number one was suspension. Obviously, we spoke about airbags, we spoke about coilovers. They are, what you'd like to do, but if it's out of your reach, if it's out of your budget, obviously, airbags are gonna be like $5,000, coilovers are gonna be $1,500 to $2,000, but you can just go and get lowered springs, right? You can get lows, super lows, super lows, depending on your car. In Australia, we use King Springs a lot. There's iBark as well, but it's a lot cheaper. It's probably gonna be about $500. You can install them yourself. If you're going to do it yourself, be careful, get a spring compressor, which is probably, I don't know, $50 off of eBay. Make sure you do it safely because it is a very, very unsafe thing to do. You do not want to get smashed in the face by a compressed spring from your suspension. Imagine it's holding up a car. It's got a lot of energy there. And I've seen a video of a guy's whole face getting smashed open because he just took the nut off the top of the strut and it just exploded in his face. Do not be one of those people. You can go and get it installed, but again, if you're one of the people that are going to be getting things installed, not doing it yourself, which is fine, you're going to be looking at the same kind of install costs as like coilovers. It's take it out, take the spring off, put the spring on, chuck it back in. It's not too bad, probably a few $100. But you do have that option and it is going to increase the performance of your car handling, just not to the level of coilovers. But this is the budget list, so we're not expecting the same kind of experience, the same kind of result because we're spending a lot less money. So suspension, you do have lowered suspension. And remember, if you're gonna go past probably like super lows, you probably wanna do your shocks as well as just your springs. Adds a little bit of cost, but you weigh it up. When you get to that point, you're probably around the $600-700 mark plus labor. At this point, you could probably just go and get coilovers and put them in yourself, but they'd be a cheap set. Remember, there are cheap sets out there like max speeding rods. I know a lot of people hate on them because there are pictures of their suspension breaking, but from what I've been told by them, obviously they're gonna say this, but they were issues in previous models and now they've been fixed. That's what they say. I'm not supporting that. That's just what they're telling me. So you do have the option of cheap coilovers or just lowered springs and lowered shocks. The next is going to be wheels. Now I know wheels can be expensive. If you are going for like a Japanese wheel, it's going to be like $3,000-4,000. But if you want to save yourself some money and you don't like the wheels that you're on, maybe you don't have like, rims, you know what I mean? Like you've got like hubcaps on them, they're just stockies, they're just steelies, whatever they are, and you want something that looks a bit nicer, do the research and you can save yourself a lot of money by just getting another manufacturer's wheel. So for example, like Toyotas, Nissans, a lot run on 114.3x5 PCD. Check your hub size. A lot of different cars match, and if the hub size doesn't match, you can get ring adapters. And check out your offsets. Same thing as you would do when you're buying aftermarket wheels, but you're going to be doing this for another brand's wheel, because a lot of the time, like people that run Porsches, I know that that's probably an expensive option, but like whatever, the standard sports cars, they're going to be upgrading because they're cashed, right? And they're going to be like, I don't want my wheels, I just sell them $500, and you can get a nice set of like Porsche 19s. Granted, you're probably not going to get Porsche 19s for $500, but you know what I mean. These people have the money that they don't care. They can just throw away the old wheels for a lot cheaper. And that means you might be able to get a sweet little deal and put them on. Like for example, and I know this isn't the cheap version, but I know Golf R guys, they run Bentley wheels on their cars and they look sick. Like the offset's perfect. They look crazy. I know they are an expensive option, but you know what I mean. A different brand can fit your car. They'll have the different offsets that you're after, and you can save yourself a lot of money. Also, you can go do a bit of a paint job on them if you, like for example, the Beamer, you've got a grey car, you want black wheels, it can look really nice, things like that. You can save yourself some dollars. So you could probably get a full set of wheels for like $500-600, some spray cans, fix them up, right? Not going to be $3,000-4,000. So that is a budget option. Now, third on the list is exhaust. Obviously, a full exhaust on your car, you're probably going to want to go stainless. Even if you go mild steel, it's pretty expensive, especially if you're not just getting an off the shelf. If you're getting it custom made, it's going to be very, very expensive. Now, you do have a few options here. Granted, this option, like I've said with the other ones, it's not going to give you the full spectrum of benefits. You're not going to gain the power and the flow and so on like you would with a full aftermarket exhaust, but you can just do a back box delete or a rear muffler delete, whatever you want to call it, wherever you're from, and you'll get a bit of a tone out of it. You'll still probably have your middle resonator, you may have another muffler, you'll still have your stock cats, but if you just remove the rear mufflers, obviously don't just like cut them out and leave them out. Cut them out, put a bit of pipe in. It's a much cheaper option. You'll get a bit of a tone out of it. It'll sound a little bit nicer. And then obviously from there, you can put some like nice tips on, whether it's like twin tips. If you've got a V8, you can have like 2 twin tips out the back, or you can do like a pie cut 45, like bent pipe, whatever you want to do. You can change the aesthetic of the back of the car and you can add a tone to it. So like, it's not going to be, straight pipe cold start sounding crazy, but it will sound a little bit nicer and it'll add that little bit of soul in the morning when you start the car. And it's going to look nicer from the back. You're not just going to have like stock tailpipes. You're going to have a nice option. You're probably looking at about $400 for that kind of setup. So that's not too bad, where a full exhaust will probably cost you like $2,000, I guess. Fourth on the list is head unit. Now, I did touch on this in the other video that you don't have to spend $1 million on a head unit. You don't have to go and get Pioneer's newest, best, most amazing head unit, blah, blah, blah. You can go and get the Android units and they do work quite well. Like I said, if your head unit isn't giving you navigation, if your head unit isn't even working, if there's an issue with it, whatever the case may be, and you upgrade to like one of those 7-inch eBay head units, it's going to be a lot better. I've got it in the BMW, I'm testing it myself, and it's awesome. It's so good. And the customizability, is that even a word? Maybe, is actually really cool. So I've created something when the Beamer's up and running that I'm going to install, and it's a new welcome video. So you can make your own welcome video if you're like a bit cluey with editing software or whatever. You can just do like cut and pastes and molding together, whatever you want, save it in the right format, upload it to it, and then it will have a really cool like startup screen that you could have. You know, for me, it could be like a BMW startup screen, or it could be a Jay-Z startup screen, or whatever you want, right? Mine's really cool. I've made it. It took me quite a bit of time to make, and you will see it in the future. So if you do want to see that, make sure you subscribe to the channel because you want to see the stuff that's happening with that car. But you can do that stuff. It opens a whole realm of customization to your head unit. It's not just like, oh, you can put a different color on your buttons. Like, there's a lot of stuff you can do, which is crazy because it's the cheapest options, right? The other slightly cheaper option is if you get last year's model, Pioneer units or Sony units or whatever you want to do, you'll save yourself a lot of money. So if you can wait to that time of the year, which I think it's like end of financial year, do they come out with their new models? Just Google it and you'll be able to find out when the company comes out with their new model, and their old model, which will be very, very similar, will be a few $100s cheaper. Now, the fifth and final thing on our list is seats. Now, obviously, brides, Recaros, whatever, they're very, very, very expensive, and that can break the bank on this budget setup, right? But if you've got, I don't know, Honda Civic or something, and it's got rubbish seats in it, and then you see another car that's got amazing seats that they're wrecking, you might be able to pick it up really cheap. All you've got to do is get a rail that's going to fit, customize your rail to fit, whatever the case may be, but you can go down that path. The other option is there is a company out there, Crank Motorsport, that do bride seat copies. They're like $1,200 for a pair, plus I think it's about $400 for rails. They bolt straight in, they're actually really good quality. They're ADR approved. They've done all the testing. They'll give you a certificate, so they're legally allowed to be in your car. Almost choked on those words. But they're another option, right? Yes, it's taking off of the brand of Bride and etc. And we could go down that path of the argument for that, but there is a cheaper option, and I'm just here to tell you about it, right? I don't have any invested interest in the companies making money. So if you want to go down that path, you can. But like, you know, for example, this is going to be a bad example because it's an expensive one, but it's just the one that's on the top of my head. Like the new M4s and stuff, when people have crashed them, you can take the seats out of those, modify the rails and get them in your E46 and they'll fit and they'll look amazing. They'll be really comfortable. That is like a very, very expensive option. Obviously, you've got like, they're like probably like $5-6 grand to get a set of M4, like new M4 seats. But there are other cars like, oh, what is it? There's a couple of Vauxhalls, I think it is, or Holdens, like that came out with like a turbo, I don't know, it's a rubbish car, like in my opinion. But it's this like little hatchback turbo, I don't know, 1.8 litre or some like piece of crap. But they came out with really, really cool seats, like really buckety, like supportive seats. So you can get them out of there, put them in your car, and it would make a massive, massive difference. Also, things like XR5 turbos come with stock Recaros. You just have a bit of research and you could save yourself a lot of money, end up with some Recaros or just something that's a lot more sporty. You know, like for example, the E46 BMW seats, the normal seats, they're rubbish. They're just flat. You have a seat, you know, they're nothing special. But you can always upgrade to a different model or a sport package or a different car and spend the time making the brackets work and getting them in. Be aware on those things. You've got things like airbags, you've got things like occupancy sensors, etc., etc. Well, if you're making brackets, make sure they are safe. I wouldn't recommend making brackets. I would more recommend buying universal brackets and then making them fit somehow. Just be careful, do these things safely. Don't go and, you know, save on number one by just cutting your spring. That's dodgy, it's unsafe, and it's just crap. Don't do it. Don't go and save on your wheels by getting someone's damaged buckled wheels and just throwing them on your car. Don't, you know, make things unsafe. Side caveat for the wheels, you can put spacers on your stock wheels if you like stock wheels, just to make them more aggressive. They will look a lot nicer. Just be sure to get bolt-on spacers, hub-centric, and check the nuts every like 1,000 kilometers, 5,000 kilometers. After you put them on, 500 Ks, then every 5,000 Ks, just check them. When you do a service, just check them, all right? But that is it. That is our budget list for the first 5 mods you need to be doing to your car. Save you some money. You can do all of those probably for under 2 grand, right? The other list, the first one was going to be 2 grand. So I hope this has helped you. If it has, please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think, maybe what should have been on the list, what shouldn't have been on the list, what your list of top 5 mods are. Let me know. If you want to stick around and see the E46 build finish, you want to see the power increase on the Supra, you want to see the new exhaust on the Crown, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. See you guys.